This video is a response to Boise, Idaho's rebuttal to an LA Times article that states that Boise is the reason why LA can't legally clear its streets of homeless encampments. Now, um, I don't believe that that's 100% true, but they don't probably know the real reason or get what the real reason is. The real reason is that Boise, and I have to say, first of all, I am a person who is homeless right now. I came to Boise, Idaho in 2015. In the fall of 2015, I ended up at the Interfaith Sanctuary. I was essentially tortured the first day I was there. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. That shelter was not safe on many levels. And they had a group of people, I call them the minions, who I guess had been sort of like trustees in a prison for years. They got paid with gift cards. I think it was $45 a month to do these particular little jobs that they would do in the evening for a short period of time. And they had sort of control over other people's property, and insiders who have worked in nonprofits that deal with the homeless community told me that for years they were allowed to steal stuff from other homeless people, and I have a story about that. And it was, and they also bullied and tortured people, and a lot of them, almost all of them, were male, and they didn't like women very much. Most of them didn't like women too much. And so I was in that shelter. I've gotten a place to rent twice and been forced to leave through organized harassment. And the decisions that are made by the landlords, the decisions that are made by like HUD's nonprofit I think it's called the Intermountain Fair Housing Council, are corrupt because they're associated with some of these nonprofits, etc. And it's a pretty ugly situation. I have been in the other shelter for about 30 days. I was thrown out, just like so many other people. You get what's called a letter, an exit letter. They just give you this letter. You have to leave tomorrow, and then they talk about how they help people. They talk about how they help people get housing. A lot of these things that they're stating are not true, unless it has very recently changed. And I'm a homeless person in Boise, Idaho. I've been a homeless person living in the shelter system. I've had rentals that I've had to leave because they were poorly managed. The rents kept being raised. I was gang stalked in both of those places, terrorized really. And I now live in a minivan, and I've been harassed by the police on a very high level, actually, and also harassed by the very large drug network that is located in Boise, Idaho. Back to the real reasons. What they do in Boise is that they don't want the unsightly homeless to be viewed by anyone. They don't want people to know how many homeless people are here. And just like in Anchorage, Alaska, there's a lot of homeless people that come to Boise from the smaller towns. And then there's some people that come here from other states because Boise likes to advertise that they have a lot of jobs here. And they do have a lot of jobs here, but they're very low paying jobs. And people can't pay the rent. Some people can't even pay the rent if they're working two jobs and pay their other bills as well. And so they want to compartmentalize, and they do. And they do things to keep the homeless herded into a particular area of the city. But then at the same time, they add things to that area that are going to draw other people into the area, like the Road Skate Park, where there used to be an encampment underneath the overpass. And the reason it was there was, of course, rain, sun, blockage, and homeless people, it can rain here like monsoons here in Boise. So homeless people run underneath the overpass to get out of the rain when that happens. Well, now what they've done is they put a skate park there. That was a deterrent, probably. That's probably the whole reason. And they put all these rocks around it so people can't sleep, the usual thing that goes on. And the police have been brutal to the homeless population for a very long time. And that it is unbelievable. People would not believe the truth. I mean, I've had mentally ill homeless women ask me, crying, asking me why the police were so mean. I've had the police harass me a lot on a very huge scale. And part of that might be because I'm in an organized harassment program that comes from a higher level than them. But I believe that they do those things to homeless people on a pretty wide scale. They use community policing. Community policing is really community mobbing, and it's directed from the fusion centers. So it's not just the police that harass the homeless people. They have a lot of other people helping them do that. And so their policies are designed, and I'll be talking about that more, are designed to herd the homeless into a particular area and keep the homeless from being in view and being unsightly. And then they tell all of these lies about helping people get housing, etc. This was my post on Facebook after I found out that the city of Boise was going to go to the effort and spend a lot of money to send this case, Martin versus Boise, to the Supreme Court that had already been reviewed by the Ninth Circuit, and they upheld the original case in which 6 people sued the city of Boise for ticketing them and incarcerating them, etc., for sleeping outside when there was no place else for them to be. And I discuss how I was being harassed. I'm stalked and harassed very often. All kinds of things happen. Some of them are dangerous and some of them are just annoying. And they do things to keep me from sleeping. They make a lot of noise when I'm trying to work on something. Wherever I'm at, they do that. And I express my dismay that they're spending all this money for legal fees, but not really building any affordable housing. They over and over again mention this one project for people who need to have social workers manage their lives for them. But there isn't affordable housing for regular, retired, elderly, disabled people, etc., people that can manage to, their own lives and just can't afford the rents because they're low income. And then later, I wrote, to file an amicus brief in a Supreme Court case, one has to be a lawyer admitted to their bar. It has to be submitted in booklet form, and 40 copies must be submitted. Rules 5 and 37. We'll find another way to amicus curiae in their direction. The info is very relevant.